Hello everyone, I'm Raven from Raven Comics, and today we'll dive into the complete story of Dark Knight 3, The Master Race. Just like some of my previous videos, I originally uploaded this story in parts, but today we'll get to enjoy it all in one complete video. A good death? It doesn't exist. For a long time, the people of Gotham City and the Bat's allies have presumed him dead. In Gotham, a criminal was being chased by the police. After a few minutes, they finally catch him. The man resists, not wanting to go to jail, but the police point their guns at him. He has to get in the patrol car. Otherwise, they'll finish him off. But something strange starts happening. The Bat appears, stops the police, and destroys the patrol car. Naturally, this is something that will resonate throughout the city. It's something people won't want to see, but in the interest of impartiality, the media is forced to report it. Most media outlets strive to stay impartial, yet this shocking image seems to show Batman attacking Gotham's police force. These heroes risk their lives to protect the citizens, while Batman appears and takes them down. What's going on with the Bat? He appears every few years, choosing whichever crime he wants to address. The city can't let him continue doing this. To put an end to the acts the Bat provokes whenever he feels like it, Commissioner Eendel will be tasked with catching him. Before she begins, the media asks her what she has to say about Batman's return. Meanwhile, in another place, people are scared, and they will be until their greatest fear arrives, death. This isn't any way to live. He would say, through split and bruised lips, that his fear is my daily bread. That isn't a way to live either. How many times have we saved them? 100 times? Hundreds and hundreds of times? Although numbers may be elusive, the feeling isn't. We are the light in the dark, the shelter from death, the hope in disaster. When they are threatened, we are there. They call us saviors until they call us threats. This has happened hundreds and hundreds of times. We know it, yet we're still there for them. You taught us to be that way. What hurt you so much the last time, my love? Wonder Woman slays a beast and rescues a newborn. She has to stop crying. This nightmare is already dead. The world is safe again, and they're home. Wonder Woman returns to her home and is welcomed back. They hope she enjoyed her journey. Diana says it was incredibly mundane. The only thing she wants is for them to take the child. They have to take Jonathan because she has a training session planned with her daughter. Diana wants to train with her daughter, though to her surprise, she realizes she's not there. This is more common than you'd imagine. Lara is once again in the Arctic. How can this be possible? Why does she keep trying over and over? Now we go to the Fortress of Solitude. Lara was wondering, if only to herself, as all these artifacts and objects have told her that they're important, that they're the parts that mean something, that they mean everything. But what Lara doesn't understand is whether she is a piece or a part of it. In the Fortress of Solitude, Superman is completely frozen. Lara starts crying. Why did he let the ants bring him down from the sky? Is there something she can do to save him? Strange noises start coming from the fortress. Curious, Lara goes to investigate. Not only is Superman frozen here, but there's also a bottle containing a shrunken city. The city cries out for help. Later, we're back in Gotham City. The commissioner is standing in front of the bat signal. Meanwhile, the news continues reporting multiple Batman sightings. Could it be true or a hoax from the city? Other accusations about police corruption have largely been ignored by the mayor's office. The commissioner reflects on how they let this happen. How did they let their distractions become their purpose? When did they stop thinking? Why has Batman returned for this? It sickens her to know she isn't part of it. She used to think she couldn't change without him. Guess who's changed? The commissioner's reflections are interrupted as an officer brings her news. They've caught the Bat. Meanwhile, on the city streets, Batman escapes as quickly as he can from the police. They continue to chase him, calling for reinforcements. They can't let him out of their sight. It seemed the Bat might escape, but unfortunately for him, there's also a crowd of police officers in front of him, determined not to let him go. Batman ducks into an alley only to find, oh surprise, there are police waiting for him here too. If he can't escape on the bike, he'll have to use his grappling gun to flee through the skies. His bike continues at speed and crashes into the patrol cars. From atop a building, Batman simply watches. The city is a bit dark, and one of the officers suggests lighting it up a little. What they didn't expect was that when they turned on that light, Batman would appear in front of them, starting to beat them all. The beating Batman delivers is brutal. We see all the officers are bleeding heavily. If the Bat continues resisting, they'll have no choice but to use lethal force. One officer on the ground picks up his weapon and shoots Batman, hitting him in the head. The shot wasn't lethal, but it definitely threw the Bat off balance. He falls to the ground, and all the officers, filled with rage, take their batons and begin beating him. Now Batman suffers the consequences of fighting the police. One officer asks him if he's had enough. The Bat doesn't respond. It seems he's choosing to remain silent. If that's the case, then he has to be put under arrest. The officer about to cuff him is surprised and distracted. Batman takes advantage of this distraction and delivers a hard punch to the officer's face, breaking his nose. If they thought it was over, they're very wrong. The shot merely grazed his head, and now that he's recovering, he's going to take down these officers who beat him up. Someone new arrives and orders them to stop. The commissioner has arrived, pointing a gun at him. Batman looks very strange and starts to scream in desperation. The commissioner is about to shoot him, but the Bat notices and turns to deliver a hard blow. He disarms her, though, given Batman's injuries, the blow wasn't as effective as it could have been. The commissioner tells him it's over. He has to stop. The Bat tries to throw another punch, but the commissioner dodges. Once he's somewhat weakened, she manages to handcuff him. Before taking him to jail, she has to ask where Bruce Wayne is. The commissioner removes the mask, and we realize that under the hood is Carrie Kelly. Later, we see an image of all the officers who try to fight her lying on the ground. Carrie simply tells the commissioner that Bruce Wayne is dead. Elsewhere, we're with Professor Palmer, who reflects a bit on his past. He's not like Bruce. He was always the type who'd say, if it's broken, smash it. For Batman, there was never a way back. The past was beyond repair. Tear it down and build a new world order, right? To err is human. To forgive is unforgivable. But we're only human, and that was something Batman hated to admit. Batman was supposed to have returned to the streets. News confirmed it wasn't a man, but a girl. When they weren't in disguise, they had real lives, people, and desires. Being a hero was just an extension of what they truly wanted to be. For instance, Palmer is simply a scientist, and being a scientist makes him happy, the ability of his own invention. So it's surprising that in the end, it was their identities that remained secret, wasn't it? For many of them, being heroes wasn't who they really were. It was what they dressed up as. They weren't like the perfect couple. They put on the costumes to hide. And now it seems Batman has sentenced that poor girl he loved so much to a fate worse than death. Batman, don't tell me. Do you have any idea what they're going to do to her? They'll hold her down and dissect her like the dead. They'll make her the face of terror. Palmer starts to hear strange sounds coming from a room in the lab. When he enters, he finds Lara. She greets Professor Palmer. With her, she brings the bottle she found in the Fortress of Solitude. Adam asks what it is. Lara says it's a city from her father's planet, her planet. It was shrunk before Krypton exploded by someone who would later become her father's enemy. So, what does Lara want? Why is she here? The enemy intended to blackmail her father with it. But that's not what Palmer meant. Why is she here in the lab? Well, basically, the city was shrunk, and Lara assumes that Dr. Palmer has the technology to return them to normal. Maybe Val hasn't mentioned it, but he's tired of being small. Meanwhile, we're back with Carrie, who had been arrested by Commissioner Endell. Now the police officers are taking her to prison. One of them is asking people to get out of the way. She seems like a pretty convincing Batman. She only screams in desperation, saying he's dead. Bruce Wayne is dead. Later, we only see her being put into a patrol car. Later, in a cell, the commissioner asks Carrie how Batman died, because that's the only thing she keeps saying. It's been 27 days since she was arrested for reckless behavior, assaulting police officers, resisting arrest, disturbing public order, etc. 27 days, and she hasn't spoken since she came here. Over the last month, she's been part of her morning walk, her afternoon breaks, and her happy hour. How did she get here? How did she become obsessed with a man driven by obsession? How did a girl become so twisted? How did she let herself fall so deeply? One of them will break. Finally, the commissioner tells her she doesn't care. The important thing is that Batman is dead. This is the end of his story. As for Carrie, they have enough to keep her locked up for a long time. Long enough that she'll be older by the time she gets out. She can see that defiant look in her eyes. She's old and knows it, as she sees that face in the mirror every morning. And though she won't say she smiles every day when she sees it, she'll say she sees it on her terms. If she doesn't want to talk, fine. She now has to leave, but she should enjoy her face, her stay in Blackgate, before the commissioner leaves the cell. Carrie tells her he never recovered. 3 years ago, a toad named Crew, who knew what was best for humanity, almost bested the best of humanity. Batman and this enemy had a big fight, during which the Bat took a brutal beating that left him bedridden for a long time. The boss never got out of bed after that. He couldn't. He was connected to it by tubes and things like that. Every damn needle kept him alive. Kelly used to be his support. For 3 years, she held his hand. The two of them would talk and tell stories about being a hero, the best things. Some of them got ridiculous as she felt his grip loosening. But then he held her tight and told her that their crusade had to be theirs. Until she held it, it loosened more and more. Her world collapsed around his bed. Bruce Wayne, barely conscious, would ask where the stars were in the sky. There were no stars. This city is still so polluted. Bruce is so happy she's here. They both are. His parents died together. Whether she believes it or not, that gave him some comfort. Bruce always thought he'd die alone. He didn't expect to die with someone by his side. Carrie tells him he's not alone. But a few seconds later, Bruce Wayne dies. Returning to the present, the commissioner asks what she did with the body. Kelly says she ate it. For Eindel, this was an unbelievable story. Kelly realizes she doesn't believe her. But that doesn't matter. Do you understand that now? Finally, Commissioner Eindel realizes that what she believes doesn't matter. Meanwhile, we're in Professor Palmer's lab. A basic principle of Big Bang Theory is that since its conception, the entire universe has been expanding. The whole universe, except for an alien city trapped in a jar, constantly yelling that science is wrong. Lara asks Professor Palmer why they didn't do this before. Adam tells her they did. Lara's father, and he thought they had found the variables. But the results turned out terribly wrong. Lara can't believe it. Her father believes Palmer is a brilliant man. Adam asks her not to take it the wrong way, but her father is much more human than she is. Lara agrees, noting that this may be because he was created by humans. She, on the other hand, was created by her mother in Amazon. Val asks Lara not to distract Professor Palmer while he's working. Lara says he wouldn't even have a job if it weren't for her father's notes. However, Val believes his father's theories would make no sense to anyone but the man who created the technology they're based on. He is Adam, one of Earth's greatest heroes. Palmer asks if he's speaking figuratively. Val regrets his choice of words, as he didn't mean to offend. Suddenly, everything is interrupted. Lara turns around and says her mother is calling her. Once the daughter of Wonder Woman is gone, Val mentions that he can't express what this means for Kandor. For so long, their lives have been hindered by the glass. As her father says, freedom will make them whole again. That's what Palmer hopes for. That's just a phrase, roughly speaking. It would be better to say that a greater power wants what they want. Val agrees, so let it be what God wants. Meanwhile, the news covers Batman's capture. She's set to be arraigned on Friday. Prosecutors are considering a transfer to Blackgate. Later, we see Kelly being transported in a police vehicle, 27 feet from the parking lot to the street, turning left, no stops for 66 seconds, then right. After 9 seconds, another right onto Walker. The boss said heat isn't as bad as one might think, but with all due respect, 120 seconds and no stops, no turns. It's all obvious. The city is bought. Heat owns the streets, red light and green light. Straight ahead, the boss said. He told him he will do what he always does. He said it's not true until it happens. That's why they do what they want. If they know where to start, they know where they're going. They know, so they can't be deceived. She would tell them if she didn't have other things to do with her mouth. Kelly starts whistling, and then we see a small explosion at the police station. The commissioner is receiving an infrared signal from a warehouse half a block away. Transport 1 has to take evasive action immediately. They can't do it right away. It's too late for that. The vehicle spins out of control after being hit. The van is armored. They'll be fine as long as they don't want to fight back. A Batmobile appears in front of the van. Alarms go off. All units need to move. This is a Code 9. The thing in front of them hit the van, and the boys need to move. The Batmobile starts its escape. As it reaches a bridge, it encounters 2 patrol cars but shoots them down without issue. At the station, the commissioner gives orders. Raise the damn bridge. Officers nearby are in position to shoot. Commissioner Eendel orders them to fire at their discretion. The shot hits its target, but it isn't very effective. The Batmobile resumes normally. Looks like we have a problem, and it's no longer moving forward. The bridge is up. The Batmobile stops completely. Several officers approach the vehicle to inspect it. They tell the commissioner it's empty. That's what they thought. The vehicle suddenly turns on. The transport has the technology to handle inclines like these. For Kelly, sometimes doing this isn't as fun as it seems. Elsewhere, Professor Palmer is terrified. With Val's help, he's learned everything there is to know about Kryptonian physiology. He's been able to modify his shrinking technology and create a device that can make the Kandorians grow. In theory, of course, the process begins newly with the Flash. It's a 30-year forgotten irony, the button, the end. The experiment has worked, but as Palmer removes his glasses, he begins to cry. Here are the Kryptonians, but there are also many who were killed. Val tells Professor Palmer to allow him to introduce him to his father. He is the savior of Kandor. Kor introduces himself to Dr. Palmer, delighted to meet him, as he's been a great inspiration. Now that he sees them up close, Palmer says he's made a terrible mistake. Kor regrets that he feels that way, and please, he can find solace in knowing that it will be his last mistake. This device he's wearing is something marvelous. What happens if its power is irreversibly reversed? An atom would eventually make him smaller, wouldn't it? Adam says he can fix this, and as he gets smaller, he's in for a terrible surprise, as Val crushes him like a tiny ant. Kor stands before his children, before their wives. He just wants them to breathe. They must savor it. The air's scented by the yellow sun, in and out. It's delicious. And now, their precious, beautiful Kandor will have to pay the price. They thought his church was crazy. They called him a monster. He begged them, gave everyone a chance to join him in heaven. It's a pity they refused. Now he will take the city of Kandor trapped in this jar to finish it. His children must know that the trials are over. Now the universe is calling them. They'll deal with it. His children need to know that this will be their universe and that they can play with it. But first, they must play with Earth. Meanwhile, Lara says that her whole life was kept a secret. The world couldn't know she existed. For most people, a child is celebrated and shared. She was hidden from most. A child is a source of pride. In her case, she was a well of anxiety and fear. Lara meets her mother, who tells her she's late for her lesson. Diana knows her daughter is at that terrible age. She hears her words as shackles, which is why everything she says is challenged. She refuses to be dominated. Diana was young and energetic and thought she knew everything. She wonders if that's not because, as youths, we're told how special and unique we are, so much so that we believe our own exaggeration. But despite what parents say, being special isn't something you're born with or something to be passed down. Being special is something we can develop through curiosity, exercise, and discipline. Diana trains with her daughter, telling her reactions are slow. Lara gives her a dirty look. Diana asks what she did to make her look at her that way. Lara says it's all boring and unnecessary. After all, she's Kryptonian. After an intense battle and a few words, Diana tries to hit her daughter with her sword, but it breaks. She doesn't understand it, and honestly, I'm not helping her to understand. It's hard to say. I've gotten slow. I'm a burden. So I tell her, "Dear, the fire has gone out." She refuses to believe it, and once again, she's right. The fire is there, but the body is worthless. I've become slower than before. I can barely walk. I'm not only a burden, I'm a noose. If we went out on patrol together, I'd get her killed because she'd be more worried about me than about the mission. All these words are hard to admit for a man like me. So instead, a fire goes out. We start with the old Bruce Wayne, who, after rescuing Kelly from the police, we hear him say these words, "You did well, girl. She'll be better at this than I ever was, smarter than me." The news broadcasts an unconfirmed report. They have Moscow and Indonesia in flames. Thousands of deaths at the reunion the Pentagon has issued. It's hard to know what we can think of this. The president has yet to respond. Who is behind these global attacks? Bruce Wayne is about to retire. With me, it was all about bruises. She is Grace, a damn dancer. I wanted to strike. I thought it would scare them. Probably too many punches put that thought in my head. She likes to make them miss. She can handle it, sure. But that's not her style. She wants them to know she thinks faster than they do. And she does, which is terrifying. But is she faster than a hail of bullets? Bruce Wayne stands in front of the monitors and starts watching the news. Cities worldwide are burning in flames. People flying are attacking these cities. Kelly wakes him up, standing behind Bruce Wayne. She asks what all this means. Could it be that Bruce Wayne is no longer dead? Bruce still doesn't know what it means. But this kind of horror is always claimed by someone. That someone appears on the screen with a message for Earth. Everyone must know that Earth is finished. This is the end of their oppression. Their chains, those chains will disappear. They must kneel before them. And with that, they can be saved. This is Core from Krypton. Once, a planet of decadence dedicated to science that paid attention to its impulses while ignoring the fire that burned it from within. It burned until its shell couldn't contain what was underneath and exploded outwards and across countless solar systems. Like a dandelion seed floating through space, across time, across the universe, to find its grip with you, people of Earth. The Kryptonians have flourished. Their 7 children must approach. They must be destiny. The children thank their father, and now they take a pill. Can they feel it? The fire. The Kryptonian fire. One of the boys falls, not without telling him that he's sorry and loves him. Core tells him that he has to know what he knows and what he will always know. The boy falls in free fall towards the city of Moscow, and after falling, we see a great explosion as if it were a human bomb. From the Batcave, Kelly and Batman can only watch all of this. Core continues, "You can see what burns within my children. There are those among you who might call it a bomb. And you'd be right, but you wouldn't be fair. They will spread your fear, but not the purifying fire that now burns within them. They will destroy themselves to save you. The people of Earth must kneel before their new gods. They must worship them. It's the only thing they ask in return. If they do, they may keep their lives. They will be their gods and demand a planet that accepts them as such. They give you 3 days to consider this situation. If they, your new gods, are loved, you may be saved." In the Batcave, Batman realizes the gravity of the situation. They truly can't do anything alone. There is only one person in this world who can help them. If you want to beat a Kryptonian, you'll need the help of another Kryptonian. As we see Batman and Kelly in the Arctic, the news continues. Hundreds of thousands of pilgrims have flooded the Vatican City, claiming their new gods. Batman's destiny has ended, and now we find ourselves in the Fortress of Solitude. Outside lies the key. But this time, Batman won't have to use it to enter. They both enter, and we see Superman frozen. Batman says he surrendered. Does Kelly want to know what he's doing here? Frozen? He surrendered 3 years ago after they almost destroyed the planet. The victor writes history. We pushed it to the limit. Kelly has to step back so Bruce Wayne can free his friend. Using a hammer, he gives a hard blow to the ice to break it. The blow was hard, but not enough to break all the ice. Bruce asks his friend to get up. The time for slacking off is over. He knows he can hear him, probably watching him through his eyelids with that X-ray vision. Well, then he has to take a long look. He's broken. The planet is. He can't do this anymore. It will kill him. The world needs him. Those words kill Bruce too. Kelly stands in front of him. They're wasting their time with Superman. His people are about to enslave the Earth. If he's not going to do anything, then they must leave. Kelly was walking towards the exit when suddenly, noises start to be heard. These noises are from the ice breaking, and we see Superman wake up. The Man of Steel asks what she means by his people. In different places on Earth, the Kryptonians continue tormenting citizens from the skies. Bruce and Kelly are in a batwing. Bruce tells her he knows what she did with Clark. She says she did nothing, it just happened. Bruce knows she won't take the credit. She didn't learn that from him. Bruce senses it, the instinctive tension of fear down there stretching for miles. Is it the old or not? It took them long enough. People on the planet keep asking the following. Will they worship their gods or their new gods? If they want to find salvation and keep living, it's better to worship Core. Meanwhile, from above, Lara, Superman's daughter, was watching it all. Val arrives behind her and asks if she isn't afraid. Lara says no. All she has is curiosity, not fear. Core arrives and tells her that his son wasn't talking about Kandor, but herself. Val confirms it. All this is about her. Could it be that he fears himself? For a long time, he stuck to the rules because he's afraid of not doing so. But there should never be anything that prevents her from doing what she wants. The rules of the Earthlings and her parents don't have to matter because she's above them. Isn't that right? Meanwhile, elsewhere, Superman has been watching everything. With great helplessness from doing nothing to prevent this situation, he kneels and, with red eyes, we see him cry. In another part, world leaders analyze the situation. This isn't something they can take lightly, though it's not something they can discuss for long either. There are riots in the streets, and many people are dying. People are rioting because they feel threatened. Although others have a completely different opinion, riots are happening because people fear they can't be people anymore. Undoubtedly, all this is madness. Well, if people are no longer people, then what are they? Generally, enemies? For Bruce Wayne, all this is straightforward. When you reach a certain age, you know how false bosses will react before they do. Their backs are against the wall, and they're eager to keep their position. Do you know what that means? They fight or send people to do it for them. The attacks are about to be launched. The news announces that the leaders have come to nothing, and they call this an inevitable cataclysmic scenario, a very real possibility of global redemption. The meeting of world leaders is interrupted by Core, who tells them he's given them 3 days to think of a response. So then, what is their answer? Out of nowhere, the monitors turn off and back on. This time we see Batman has returned. He tells them to go to hell. If he thinks the world will kneel before them, he is very wrong, because Batman's secret weapon has arrived. Core is surprised by this situation. Someone else arrives. You heard, Batman. You need to go to hell. Superman, the Man of Steel, is here. Core heard it and would gladly spend thousands of eternities in thousands of hells rather than one more day in a crystal cage. But if he thinks he's going to surrender, he's very mistaken. Kal-El of Krypton must be punished. If Superman thought it would be easy against the Kryptonians, he was wrong too. His daughter, Lara, has arrived and tells him he's a traitor to their race. He tells Lara she's making a terrible mistake. This world needs protection, not to be attacked. To the Kryptonian core, these words sound very paternal. Lara agrees with those words. This world is beautiful, fertile, and primitive, but the ants that rule it are destroying it. If this is our home, how can we allow that? Or should I say, why does Superman allow people to destroy themselves? The Man of Steel tells them he refuses to place himself above humanity. Now he extends his hand to his daughter. She has to come back with him. Unfortunately for Superman, Lara doesn't plan to return with him. She even attacks him using her heat vision. The attack is so strong that it sends him flying far away, crashing into a tower. Core asks if she can see him for what he really is. Lara tells her father it's time for him to make a choice. Will he join her or continue to defend Earth? Superman recovers from that attack, but refuses to fight his daughter. He won't return those blows. Well, if he doesn't want to fight, that's his problem, because Lara will keep doing so. The Kryptonian's daughter delivers another hard blow that again sends him flying far away. If Superman just chose his people, Lara has chosen hers too. For some reason, Lara keeps insisting that her father join her, but the other Kryptonians arrive and stand behind her. He has to see that he has already made his choice. Meanwhile, in the Batcave, Batman is watching these events. Standing in front of the monitors, he can only watch as Superman is beaten. Kelly tells him that this is enough. They can't let this keep happening. Batman tells her they can't stop it. Only one person can, and apparently, he won't. Kelly asks if they're going to sit here and watch. Batman says no, and to get back in action, she needs to bring him a chair. For a while, she kept hitting him relentlessly. Not only could Batman do nothing, but neither could the government. The fight was being broadcasted to the whole world. All this beating was so unnecessary, merciless. This went on for hours and hours. She just kept hitting him, and Batman, well, kept watching. After several hours, the battle reached the top of the world, precisely to Superman's fortress of solitude. In the Arctic, more Kryptonians arrived to invade this place. Kor, the Kryptonian leader, gave Earth a message. Behold your champion, your Superman. Krypton must behold its last son. While they kept him imprisoned in a bottle, he had the audacity to present himself as the last survivor of a dead planet. Not only did he hide the existence of these Kryptonians, but he also denied that they continued to exist. Kal-El is just an embarrassment to Jor-El. Now he can barely stand. He is now accused of treason, a word that doesn't even begin to describe what he has done to his people, the last of his kind. How does Superman plead? The Man of Steel just tells his daughter to stop. She's too young, and she doesn't understand. Kor says, of course, from a position of authority. In Krypton, how does it find him? All the Kryptonians there declare him guilty. If that's what they proclaim, then so be it. Kor throws black liquid at Superman, which starts to engulf him. Clark was totally hurt from the beating his daughter gave him. He can't move. Seconds have passed, and Superman is trapped. He will be trapped for eternity. From the Batcave, Kelly mentions that all of this is dark matter. To Batman, that's theoretical science. Though theoretically, that's how it works, this won't just be the end of Superman, but also his fortress. Kor says goodbye to Kal-El, not of Krypton, but of Earth. All the Kryptonians unite to destroy the fortress. All the ice now turns to water. Superman just sinks into the depths. Once they melted the Fortress of Solitude, they now unite to use their freezing breath to trap Superman even deeper, turning the water into ice. Kor and his followers leave. They have more important matters to attend to, like the citizens of Gotham City. They understand how precious life is. Kor believes there is goodness in all of them, and he'd love for them to show it. They must hand over their son, the infidel, the outlaw, the Bat. They must bring him Batman, or one of Krypton's sons will purge them from the Earth. In 36 hours, if Batman isn't begging for his life, he promises that their failure will end with everyone's failure. Now, people of Earth, before you were interrupted, you asked for an answer. Meanwhile, we're with Wonder Woman. They made a decision. She disagrees with it, nor does she agree with her love or her daughters. But humanity collectively made a choice, and they will abide by it. Bruce, however, cannot, because if he disagrees with something, then something must be wrong. Batman has been trying to communicate with her, but Wonder Woman ignores his calls. Batman's stubbornness will be his end. Only 12 hours remain. 12 hours before the greatest city on Earth is reduced to a furious mob with pitchforks and torches. $1 million turbine in 12 hours. This is incredible. Meanwhile, in Gotham City, citizens are outside the police station. People want them to hand Batman over. They want him dead. Inside the station, the commissioner says she's actually being generous. About 7.5 hours ago, the network went down, and they were left in the dark. Fortunately, the precinct has a backup generator, and she went to the liquor store before work. When the satellites went offline, she understood what was at stake. That's why she's talking to a piece of machinery from 30 years ago. She wants someone to know that this stinks, that humanity stinks, and that the Gotham department is useless. In fact, they have been for years. It only took the last 12 hours for Gotham to realize it. We return to the Batcave, where Kelly is injecting something into Batman's knees. Batman lets out a small cry. That cry is because it's good not to feel pain anymore. Now he asks Kelly if she's heard anything about the Bat Boys. Kelly tells him that she hasn't heard anything for a couple of hours. Bruce tells her he needs her to go on a mission out there. Kelly says that's what they're doing. Once they go out, it'll be just the two of them against the world. Batman gives a slight smile. Smiling without the mask is a bit difficult, as if he were betraying himself. Kelly tells him it's the world against you and me, as it would be putting too much emphasis on it. Before she leaves, Bruce hands her a small box. It's hope, and she can take it as a graduation gift. Meanwhile, the news reports the following. As we can see from their perspective, Gotham is engulfed in chaos. Above, there's a ring of Kryptonians flying. Someone mentions that the Supreme Rulers have Gotham locked down until they hand over the bat. So, that's what they'll do. Trump says that this guy needs to spare the world a lot of pain. Enough of all this. It's every man for himself now. Someone new arrives and says he's wrong, but there are very few like them left. Very few heroes, super or not. People willing to fight the big fight instead of settling for their terms. People who understand that nothing comes easy. People who realize that if you yield an inch, they'll take the world. People willing to face anything. Someone was running at great speed when he's suddenly intercepted and has his leg broken. Even before Flash could join the battle, he's attacked and taken out of it. The blow he suffered was so strong that it didn't just break one leg, but both. Now we see him lying on the ground, unable to run. We're back with the Commissioner. From up here, they all look like ants, venomous fire ants, but ants nonetheless. On the ground, they seemed like her family. Unpleasant, but she used to think so. She saw them as worthy of dedicating her life to protect. That's true. Maybe they were needy, but she saw the need and responded. Batman steps up behind her and asks her to stop drowning her. Meanwhile, we're with Professor Palmer, who is still falling. Nothing around me but space. A void growing alongside my shattered dreams. But wait, he now realizes that he can fix all this. They are tearing Gotham City apart, burning everything we built, all to make me come out, all to appease a lunatic alien hovering above them in the air like sulfur. People are destroying everything around them, while the Kryptonians just watch. Normally, I would put an end to this disturbance with a few well-placed batarangs. I learned long ago that nothing pacifies the bloodlust of a crowd faster than their own blood. But now is not the time for a cure. Now we will feed the disease. We start in a Gotham City sewer leading to the Batcave. People are carrying Flash on a stretcher after suffering a terrible attack. The speedster was running when a Kryptonian suddenly intercepted him. Due to the great speed he was traveling at, he sustained severe injuries, breaking both of his legs. Standing before Batman, the Dark Knight says it looks like a freight train hit him. Flash asks if he means a locomotive. Despite Barry maintaining his sense of humor, Batman realizes this is serious. This is very bad. Barry's legs are shattered, and he asks if Batman can save him. Without a clear answer, Batman simply says he will try. Meanwhile, in the depths of the ocean, we are with Kelly, who is beside the King of the Seas, Aquaman. She spent the first 13 years of her life in a two-bedroom apartment. That was the extent of her world. Since then, she has seen things, crazy things, bombs falling from the sky, gods flying through it, beings from other worlds. But now this is blowing her mind. Aquaman tells her it must be the pressure. Kelly doesn't understand how Aquaman can hear her. Arthur tells her it's telepathy, a very efficient form of communication. She asks if they are 20,000 leagues under the sea, and Aquaman tells her they are at 20 meters. The reason Kelly is in the ocean depths is that she is looking for the only one who can help them. Back in the skies of Gotham City, Lara asks Kor why he orders the humans to do a task they could easily accomplish. Kor tells her she is misunderstanding everything. He gave them a choice, not an order. They seek to inspire, not impose. This aims to bring out the best in them. Lara tells Val that Kor has just won her over with those words. Destruction is what humans are best at. He sent them on a hunt. A true hunter attacks its prey without warning. Kor interrupts her and says that lesson couldn't have come from her father. Lara hits him. He's right. She learned that from her mother in the jungle with the Amazons and her baby brother. While all this is happening in Gotham City, we are with Wonder Woman, who is very upset. When asked what is bothering her, she simply says isolationism. In Gotham City, the commissioner is still on the roof of a building. The plan she is following belongs to Batman, and it better work. Back with Aquaman and Kelly, it seems they have found what they were looking for. It's Superman's body, which had been trapped under the sea. But how are they going to free him from the dark antimatter? Well, for that, Kelly will use a kind of needle that is more like a tuning fork. On this side, it will penetrate the dark matter, breaking its molecules. That's really all they can do. Aquaman knows they can do it. After all, if she's working with Bruce Wayne, breaking is what he does best. Kelly says the tuning will only work if he wants to come out of this crusade. So if Superman wants to remain trapped, it won't work. Kelly apologizes before attempting to free him. It's hard to describe because what we know as mass and space doesn't apply. I think that inside it could be huge and vast. He's encapsulated in a black universe. All Kelly did was drop the needle in a haystack. Who knows if he can even find it? Kelly throws the needle and runs. It seems like it's working, and suddenly we see Superman emerging from the darkness. The Man of Steel is amazed to see Arthur. He didn't know he was still alive. Aquaman asks if he's okay, and Clark wants to know how long he has been trapped. It felt like centuries, but it was only a couple of days. Being trapped in the dark taught Superman something. Those couple of days were all the time he needed to search his soul. Now he asks the ocean dwellers, "Do you want to save the world?" In Gotham, the Kryptonians keep flying. To Core, this is incredible. They just have to look at them. They are extraordinary. They would willingly destroy themselves to avoid being destroyed. Undoubtedly, they would be worthy worshippers. While he is admiring this beautiful scene, Batman is about to spring into action. This is like watching an animal gnaw off its leg to free itself from a trap. That is, if it succeeds, it will stagger and die. So what drives it to do such a thing? Fear. The strongest and purest primary motivation there is. Fear is his lieutenant, his nanny, his invisible friend. Batman has arrived at the battlefield with new machinery. Fear is the reason he gets out of bed. Fear is what he sleeps on, dreams about. Fear is why he doesn't kill. There are so many things he fears. Well, you only need to look at yourself. Fearless, with no chance. We're back with Superman, who has not flown to the Batcave. Upon entering, he encounters another surprise. Here is another of his old comrades. This surprises him. Flash may not be able to use his legs quickly, but he can use his hands. Superman is genuinely shocked by what he just saw and says, "Oh my God." Barry says he knows he was created as a human, but every time he says, "Oh God," he wants to bring him a mirror. Anyway, right now there's no time to chat. Manipulating weather patterns and true trillions of variables is complicated. It seems something is wrong. Flash uses his speed and fixes it. Now that he's done, he welcomes Clark. It's time for Superman and Kelly to continue on their course. They need to head to the warehouse, so Superman can find something Batman left for him. Meanwhile, Batman thanks Barry, saying he did a good job and promising that they will pay for what they did to him, breaking his legs. All of us exposing our most basic nature. We will make them pay. All of us. Batman is on top of the machinery while everyone tries to climb up. Core receives a message. The designated time has arrived. Gotham has not surrendered Batman. What do they have to do? Well, the answer comes in just a few moments as the bat signal lights up. Even though the bat signal shines in the sky, Core orders everyone to be destroyed. They must kill them all, he commands his children. The Kryptonians use their speed and descend. Core asks Batman if he's challenging him. Then his city shall be his open grave. His cowardice has doomed his people. Their streets will turn red with their blood. Before he continues to descend, someone stops him. It seems like a green rain is holding them back. Cloud seeding is an expensive endeavor. Keeping drones in orbit over Gotham and making them undetectable requires money. But Batman has the money. Regardless, seeding clouds with synthetic kryptonite takes an enormous act of faith. Since the kryptonite is so diluted, it's only weakening the Kandorians. He wishes it could have done more damage, but at least it's giving him a chance to fight them. All the citizens can now fight the Kandorians on even ground. He's never wielded an enraged mob as a weapon before, so it's time to go for the first. Batman delivers a hard kick to a Kryptonian. It feels good. He knows he shouldn't get physically involved. He's not really in shape, but he's never let others fight his battles. This felt like skipping rope. The situation is getting complicated. Vision is narrowing. Little by little, he's losing balance, his knees buckling. Batman is about to hit the ground, but before he does, someone catches him. The one he considers the only one capable of helping him solve this conflict has come to assist him. Superman now has new armor and will be the one to cover his old friend's back. Kor doesn't know what kind of trick they used to bring them down, but none of that matters. They have only prolonged the inevitable. These old men are responsible for bringing down the Kryptonians. But it doesn't matter. Their time has passed. They can't stop Kor's rise. All the Kryptonian wants is love. If they refuse, they will die, they will cry, and they will gouge out their eyes to hide from the Master's gaze. Batman asks Superman if he wants to shut him up while they're about to start a battle. The citizens of Gotham are already facing off against the Kryptonians. Now the aliens are the ones who have to kneel and beg for forgiveness. The police ask the commissioner if they should arrest them. She tells them no, they should bring them justice. We go back to Batman. Nothing like a common enemy to inspire a bit of civic pride. And if anyone should know about that, it's him. Batman grabs his enemy, who is about to deliver a hard punch, but he stops it without a problem. Now he grabs him by the head and slams it against the Man of Steel's armor, causing terrible damage. As long as the kryptonite keeps raining, they will be on the same level. The fight is underway, and Kelly has arrived at the battlefield as well. Batman welcomes her. It seems this happened just in time, too. High above, Kor is still there, saying he will not be defeated. He will not fall. Well, that's what he thought, because out of nowhere, a terrible lightning bolt strikes him. Even though he's on the ground, he says he won't fall. Not before an inferior species whose butts are recent memories. He is Kor. He is Krypton. He is better. The snipers were already aiming at his head. There was no other option but to shoot. The shot produces sound waves that leave him motionless. More police arrive on the scene, and fire at will is ordered. Batman admits there is a sensation when watching the Kryptonians shrink, run, and wet themselves. It's a basic instinct he's not proud of, but it's sensational, and he wants to share that feeling with the world. Kor is on the ground, defeated. The excitement Batman talks about will be broadcasted on the news. Everyone on Earth needs to see this. Dramatic footage is somehow being transmitted from Gotham City. Elsewhere, Lara and Val are watching everything unfold. It seems the ants are fighting back. Kelly wants to bring the news to the world. They will show what they're capable of doing, give them something to celebrate. The aliens need to know this is their city now. They will take it back in any way they can. Kelly stops for a moment. They can't become this. They can't do it. They must lead by example, by any means necessary. Using heavy machinery, Kelly steps in front of Val. She is about to hurl it, but he still has his powers and, using his heat vision, stops the Batmobile effortlessly. To Val, this was a rather foolish move. He should never have brought a car to a fight of gods. Before he can do anything to her, Kelly manages to get out of the Batmobile. She's just a very dumb idiot, a stupid animal, too arrogant to see the truth. Somehow, I think that's what makes you human. I might even admire you for that, if I had that capacity like my father does. But for now, I don't. To be honest, I've been looking forward to this moment. Kelly can't keep going any further. Val stands in front of her to give her a final goodbye. If they thought she came to battle unprepared, they are very wrong. She now pulls out a small kryptonite stone, using a slingshot, and shoots it at the Kryptonian. The shot hits right on target, and we see Val's face begin to deform as the kryptonite hits his eye. We are with Batman, who mentions the storm is ending. Its effect is wearing off. Superman sees Val from afar, saying that one was never affected. All of this is about to end. They've given these damned aliens a good scare. Superman asks what he means by that. The Kryptonians aren't easily scared. Batman says that's not what he meant. The Man of Steel knows what he meant. He always did. At this moment, the Kryptonians are slowly regaining their powers. Therefore, they have come for their leader, Kor, to take him away. Superman realizes this and wants to go after him to end it. Batman tells him he shouldn't stop them. Let them taste fear. With the last of his strength, Corey uses his heat vision to shoot at Batman. The beams go through from his back to his chest. Superman tries to do something for his friend. This bastard has finished them. Superman takes off his armor. Slowly, he hears the Bat's heartbeat fading. Superman wants to take him to a hospital. Batman tells him no, he has to promise. After a few seconds, Batman's heart stops beating. So, if Batman doesn't want to go to a hospital, what does Superman need to do to help him? Superman flies away as fast as he can, faster than a bullet. It's too slow, more powerful than a locomotive. Not strong enough, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Come on, look up in the sky. I'm only Superman because I'm not a bird or a plane. At this moment, the news is broadcasting devastating images of a now liberated Gotham City. The citizens are celebrating. It's a party. The atmosphere is wild. Meanwhile, Kelly receives a message. Batman is dead. Carrie doesn't know how many times she's heard that before. At dawn, they can assess the damage. It looks really bad, but she has to face it. The commissioner has arrived to give Kelly terrible news. Batman really is dead, and as evidence, she hands over his cowl. Kelly falls to her knees, crying. Meanwhile, Superman keeps flying. Batman is cooling down. It's probably just the wind. Yeah, it must be. I mean, it's only been a few minutes since he died. It has to be just the wind. We're with Adam, who mentions this is his work, his creation, his invention, his solution. After all, this is just science. Up in the sky, Val is still fleeing. Lara is pursuing him, but the Kryptonian doesn't want her to see him. His face is completely deformed. This is what they did to him. Lara asks why he's running away. He shouldn't. Kor and the Kryptonians have gathered again. They will make them pay for these acts. Kor is somewhat angry. What they did to his son is terrible. He will have his revenge. He'll help him. If they took a low blow by attacking Kor's son, then he'll do the same. He'll go after Kal-El's son. Lara tells him he can try. Is that a challenge? Kor gets it. One is naturally protective of one's own flesh and blood. He'll let it go this time. Lara wasn't referring to that. Jonathan is protected by warriors who won't let it happen. The Amazons are the fiercest. Kor becomes even more annoyed. Is Lara an Amazon or a Kryptonian? Whatever the case, he was telling his son they would take Kal-El's son hostage, just as they did with his daughter. Maybe they'll even hand him over as a toy. We return to Superman. After flying for a while, has finally reached his destination. This is why Batman didn't want to go to a hospital. The Man of Steel must drop his body into this pit, so his friend can recover. Batman falls into the liquid, and the recovery takes a few seconds. Once it takes effect, he emerges in a panicked state. Superman tries to calm his friend down. He needs to be calm. He needs to be at peace. Meanwhile, on the island of the Amazons, Lara has arrived with her little brother. Facing him, she asks if he missed her. Lara won't be able to harm him. Her mother steps behind her and points a weapon at her. She must put him down, or she will kill her. Lara is sure she would do it. Diana asks her not to test her. Lara isn't here to test her or be tested by her mother. She's here for Jonathan, and she isn't alone. All the Kryptonians have arrived to invade Themyscira. Lara doesn't have to worry because Wonder Woman isn't alone either. All the Amazons rise in arms to fight against the Kryptonians. We begin with Carrie Kelly, who's watching the exact moment when Batman was killed. Those stupid aliens killed Batman. They killed the Bat. This is a hard thing to watch. Flash tells her there's a good chance he isn't dead. Kelly refers to the footage, saying it's disturbing, and she knows he's gone. But they're not. Has Flash ever doubted himself? Barry tells her that he really doesn't find the time to. Kelly finds this quite funny. Barry tells her that no matter how fast he is or how fast he runs, he knows that life itself is faster. The best they can do is accept it and keep going. Kelly tells him that if his intention was to make her feel better, he's not doing a good job. Bruce could never come to terms with death. Kelly asks why anyone would. Death is the end of the race. It's the finish line. Flash never thought of it that way. Death isn't something they run together with. It's what they run away from. Or as Flash puts it, your mileage may vary. Well, Flash is right. Everyone's mileage varies, and so does Bruce Wayne's. Suddenly, Bruce Wayne appears before them. Could someone give him a rundown of everything that just happened? Kelly is really happy to see her mentor and runs to hug him. Meanwhile, on the island of the Amazons, the planes have arrived, and the Greek gods have been dead for a long time. It's time to serve a new master. He is Kor, and they are all his wives, here to take the son of the Yellow Sun. They know he's under the protection of Wonder Woman. The Kryptonians have discussed this with their master, and he has allowed them to show some mercy. They'll have to give the child up so they can show a bit of leniency. Obviously, Wonder Woman and the Amazons aren't going to surrender or hand over the child. Diana fires an arrow with a red ribbon, which means they will not surrender. So, if that's the case, the Kryptonian gives the order: kill them all. We're back with Batman, who tells Clark he shouldn't have put him in the Lazarus pit. Superman tells him that if he hadn't, he'd be dead by now. Anyway, they'll talk later about what happened. The Bats need to go fight the Kryptonians. The problem is that the last Batmobile was completely destroyed. That's no issue for Batman, who has more in storage. It may not be heavy weaponry, but it's a classic. Flash contacts Batman. They have an incoming call from Diana. Wonder Woman wants to inform him that the Kryptonians have declared war on Amazonia. Upon hearing those words, Superman departs immediately. Batgirl and Batman better head out too. On the island, Wonder Woman asks her daughter to give her brother. Lara says that Kor's wives are here to take Jonathan, and what she wants is to protect her. Diana takes back her son and prepares for battle. Willpower, brute force, magic, solar radiation, that's their fuel. As Kryptonians under the Yellow Sun, they have far greater powers than native men. But the Amazons, they believe the sun is a god. They are immortal, and that's something magical. Magic cannot be explained. They have no idea who they're facing. On the other hand, the Amazons will die before they surrender. They will avenge every drop of blood spilled. They'll never bow to alien tyranny. Diana promises them they will dominate this day. More Amazons have arrived at the battlefield. The Kryptonians realize this is serious. While all this fighting was going on, Lara was hiding in a room. A Kryptonian comes in and asks her why she isn't defending them. Does she not love her people? Will she no longer love her father? He's calling them right now. It's time to leave this place. With no other choice, Lara leaves the room. The Amazons continue the battle. They swear to fight to the death. They will kill because they are willpower itself. 200,000 years ago, her mother decreed Amazonia an isolated society, a ridiculous notion to make it perfect. That was a mistake, as it is now. Perfection frustrates, and isolation breeds longing. The battle has left an incredible amount of dead so far. Then Superman appears. Diana tells her love that it's good to see him again. It's good to see him this way. Flash contacts them, apologizing for the interruption, but he thinks they should be aware of the situation. Kor and all the Kryptonians who ingested nuclear bombs are in the same location. They have started a countdown. It seems that Superman only stopped by to greet Wonder Woman and his son, because he now has to leave. Similarly, the Amazons had already won the battle. There are still more Kryptonians, and at this moment we're with Kor. The planet Earth has just disappointed him. He only asked for their love, their adoration, their veneration. In return, he would be their god. He could preside over them, which is his duty as a superior being. He thought Earth was capable of understanding that, but he was wrong. Yes, he's very disappointed. They've made his love impossible. They've robbed him of his joy. Elsewhere, we're with Lara and another Kryptonian. They tell her she's a disgrace. She didn't support them to win this war. Kal-El's daughter is a traitor, just like her miserable father. Surely her father will punish her. She stood idle while the true Kryptonians were massacred. The Kryptonians were about to attack Lara when suddenly, we see a great green light. Green Lantern has arrived at the battlefield and tells Lara to stand behind him. He'll take care of it all. They only tell him that he's a very small man. Hasn't he learned his lesson? But Green Lantern has, and after a flash, we only see Lara. Elsewhere, Batman goes to Kor. To him, that's the problem with dictators and demagogues. It's their way or no way. They win, or everyone loses. Imagine what column he would say that in. To hell with them. He means that they talk about money being the root of all evil, and that an old dog can't learn new tricks. But nothing about a new dog using old tricks. Batman has arrived at the battlefield and, using the sounds of bats, starts to take down several Kryptonians. In extreme and unexpected situations, the first instinct is always to save oneself, aggressive panic. That's usually done at others' expense. Friendly fire as it is. Predictability has always been the companion Batman never spoke of. Kryptonians have fallen and continue to suffer. At this point, they're on the ropes. Batman and Batgirl arrive to deliver the final blow. Lara is here and asks Kor how humans did this to them. Several Kryptonians are asking themselves this question. Why do they ask humans to worship them? They should leave this world to the ants determined to destroy it. First, they were imprisoned in a bottle, and now a lunatic is promising them salvation. They ask what he means by lunatic. Well, they heard him correctly. They're going to leave. The ants can stay on this planet. But before they manage to leave, Kor's children use their heat vision to finish them all off. In the distance, Batman and Batgirl watch them. They need to retreat. Superman has arrived at the battlefield, so they'll leave this to him. The Man of Steel barely touched Batman's chest, but it was as if the weight of the world pressed against it. Superman won't allow Batman to die after he brought him back to life. Batman tells him he shouldn't have done that. Well, if that's what he thinks, then he should sue him. He could hire the best lawyers. It wouldn't matter. He has to see it. Everyone agrees with Superman. The world needs Batman, and he knows it. We're back with Kor, and his children are complaining to him. There's one who doesn't belong to this family, this group of children. Kor wants Lara to stay with them. All she has to do is promise him her love, her eternal devotion. If she does, he'll give her a killing instrument. Lara's true father has arrived. While the Man of Steel faces off with Kor, Val takes advantage to land a hard blow from behind. Kor had the opportunity to escape. He had many. This is his era. It would have been better for him if he had just disappeared. Superman tells Lara that these people are not what Krypton stood for. He is, although apparently he doesn't. He has no idea what it means to be Kryptonian. He's been poisoned with so much humanity. He's simply an old softy, and now he's going to die. Val was about to land another hard punch on his face, but Superman easily stops him. The most interesting part is coming. Shattering his jaw, breaking his femur into 3 pieces, impacting his ganglion. First he'll feel alert, then he'll experience pain. He has no words for 3 ribs, even a punctured lung. From afar, Kelly realizes Superman is acting like Batman. Batman knows this. All this time, the damn Superman has just been holding back. All these years, he moves, he's hitting while dodging a punch. There's a certain geometry to physical violence. Batman liked to think he'd mastered it. It turns out Batman is still a student. They should be faster, stronger, younger, but they aren't smarter than Superman. The Man of Steel has finished off all the Kryptonians. At this moment, he tells Kor to end his tyranny. Kor asks if he's referring to his own. He calls him a tyrant, but how can one truly overcome tyranny? It's true that Superman has finished off all the Kryptonians, but they still have one last trick up their sleeve. Let's not forget that they are nuclear bombs, and at this moment, they're about to explode. We saw what happened when a Kryptonian went nuclear in Moscow, and a chain reaction will destroy Earth. If that's the case, Kelly thinks she should die with blood on her knuckles. Batman no longer has kryptonite. Nothing remains for him to fight these self-imposed gods except for one thing. Let's not forget Adam. Remember that in previous chapters, he had managed to stop. He'd been shrinking more and more. Now he emerges and makes the Kryptonians incredibly small. The explosions go off, but they're so tiny they can't harm anyone. Not even the rock they were standing on suffers any damage. Yet, one is still left to explode. Kor wasn't shrunk by Adam. This is when Superman's daughter steps in to act as a heroine. She won't allow him to harm any of them, so she grabs him and flies away. The only way this explosion won't affect anyone on Earth or the planet itself is by taking it directly to the sun, where the two explode. Some time has passed, and we're with Batman. 2 months, an eternity, 2 months since the world last had a Superman. Where did Clark go? Finally, he realized humanity would never admit they needed him, that we would never grow enough to accept what he brought to the table. For a long time, I've dealt with that burden apologizing for it. You know I'll find you. There's no place on earth where you can hide from me, if you're still on earth. But if not, take us with you. After all, we raised you. You're one of us. You're my friend, the last son of Krypton. Kelly arrives with Batman and asks if he's ready to go. He looks at her and is surprised. She's just changed her outfit. Kelly didn't mean to offend him. She just didn't really like the bright colors. Her tastes are darker, and at this moment, she'd prefer not to be called Batgirl anymore. Batwoman would be much better. Batman thinks it sounds pretty good. It's nice, this time, she did really well. Batwoman has potential intelligence, enough to learn from it. After dying and being reborn, this will be a better life. I've lived too long. Some would say longer than I deserve. But in those years, it became clear to me we live among gods. Some would even say we are gods. We, being ourselves, that makes us gods. I say it humbly. It's not even what we aspire to be. There's so much to love about this world, our home, so much we've managed to handle without ever losing sight of life, freedom, the pursuit of happiness. And one of the most important things is invisible. At the same time, it keeps us indivisible. Gravity is what holds us together. And gravity is a word armed from both sides of the brain. It describes science and emotion separately for average people. But we aren't average people. We're heroes. We recognize threats and do our best to end them. We protect. We rush together into battle because sometimes it's the best way to make peace. We inspire. We understand that the world's eyes are on us, pushing us, supporting us, praying we won't let them down. Lately, we understand how small our role truly is. The lives we impact are potentially even greater than our own. It's humility, the honor we share, because we adapt to the gravity of the situation, and that's what keeps us bound. Lara doesn't understand his affection for humanity. Clark tells her she doesn't understand yet, and she has to know it's more than just simple affection. Superman tells her he envies her, but Lara doesn't get it. This is because Superman remembers when he was her age. She's about to embark on an adventure that those like her can't comprehend. She'll learn how to laugh, how to cry, how it feels to carry joy in her heart, and how to confront it when it leaves, and she would never do well in that. She's about to see seasons pass in a way she's never seen them before. That's how they'll become so precious, so magnificent, that at times they'll bring her to tears. If she doesn't understand, that's fine, but for now, she has to go along with him. Lara tells him that when he went off to hide in his frozen fortress, he just wanted to be alone. Superman wishes he could say that he was just human, despite his shortcomings and fears. Sharing humanity's joy is the greatest thing he's ever experienced. People know it too. That's why they teach it and keep moving forward, even in tough times. His parents did it anyway. Lara puts on some glasses and asks her father to teach her. Superman would love to do that. Thank you very much for watching this video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe for more content like this. I'm TJ Prime, and see you in the next video.